Greetings to all. Today we'll be dealing with the topic headlines and its types. When a reader looks for something interesting in a newspaper, it is the heading which catches his eyes. After scanning the headings, he settles down to read the story in detail. A headline is defined as the heading of a news story or article. It is generally placed on the top of the story. And the functions of a headline is to attract the audience attention, to go through the story, to figure out the readers and tell him what the story is about, to convey a message which is complete, and to facilitate the reader in reading the story. In a way, it tells the story. And the characteristics of good headlines. While writing headlines, one has to keep the following points in mind. A headline should speak. It should say something which educates and entertains the reader. It should be accurate in giving the fact, and the tone, scope, and focus should be the points which are very much needed. Headlines should stimulate readership and lead one to reading the story under it. The news items with bad headline do not get read. So the emphasis should be on the main theme of the story. And talking about the language, it should be clear, grammatical, and easy to read and understand. It should be very positive as well as active. And it could be very vital using strong and active verbs. Headlines are expected to be balanced and fair. And always the best food is served the best. Is served the first two. So it should be tasteful, it should be fresh and immediate and devoid of libel or slander or defamation. The writing process of headline include the technical as well as literary aspects. The technical aspects concentrate on font size, positioning of the text, font style, width of the text, and presentation. Whereas literary aspects concentrate more on the selection of words, sentence structure, and the headline type or some of them. Headlines must occupy 3 columns of type. A shorthand communication is always given as 2:36:2. It is written in the following sequence: number of columns, the type size, and the number of lines. Such a headline is also known as a double-decker head. Headlines that follow a font size in the range of 14 to 84. Such headlines are also known as display type. And headlines in sans serif font styles are soft news or feature news stories. Soft news are more interesting but less important. More of analysis. It also deals with personalities, humor, individual or crime cases, and even sensational news. It is noted for reader interest than for significance. Headlines fall into two categories: standard and label. Standard headlines use subject verb direct object format or occasionally passive voice. Think action verbs. The best headline is written in the present tense because it provides a sense of immediacy. It leads an air of urgency and freshness to the news, making it up to date. The past tense make it seem that the publication is reporting history. Standard headlines do not use articles like a, an, and the, but include verbs in the present tense or sometimes future tense too. Label headline is a type of headline that does not have a verb. It is a label and is similar to a book title. In short, a headline without a verb is called a label headline. They look like abandoned kickers. The label head is also used to refer to permanent headlines that appear on specific pages of a newspaper to introduce specialized sections. Descriptive headline describes the gist of a news story. It focuses on 4 W's and 1 H. The why part of the story is often not the part of the headline. They are also called how-to headline. They are used for explaining the stepwise process of doing something. It should tell the learner what the course or module is about. Comment headline interprets the news partly. It adds extra meaning to the headline by looking for something that is going on behind the scenes or by analyzing the implications of the news immediately or in the long run. It does add color to the headline and thus enhances its impact. The trend of using comment in headline is growing these days. Command headlines tell readers what to do or what they can learn by reading an article. Command headlines use this type of headline when creating an advertisement. Many use this type of headline when creating an advertisement. Headlines start with a strong action verb too. Quotation headline uses quotes in order that its impact is not reduced or lost. It is used to emphasize a news angle or news point. That is why quotes are used sparsely in headlines. Flush left headline. It is one of the most modern headline forms in use. It consists of 2 or 3 lines of headline, each one set flush left to the left side of the space. The design is simple and allows freedom in writing the headline. A uniform style for better results is generally adapted. It is popular because it is easy to write, allows flexibility in unit count, and provides a feeling of airiness to the page with the white space. Banner headline. They play an important role in attracting attention, especially in print media. Banner headlines are words printed in extra large letters across the top of the front page of the newspaper on extremely important stories. They are not frequently used, but when they are used, they have significant impact. Inverted pyramid headline. It concentrates on presenting pertinent facts first. With inverted pyramid stories, the most important information goes in the first paragraph, and the less important information follows to the very end of the story. It generally consists of 3 lines. The first runs across the column and the other 2 lines are shorter than the first line. It is created from the informative facts presented at the start of the story, giving the reader the most important points quickly. Cross-line headline. It is quite similar to a banner headline. While it is a large headline, it does not span the entire width of the page, but it does run across all the columns of the story it pertains to. It is one of the simplest types of headlines, consisting of a single line and one or often more columns in width. It can run flush on both sides of the paper, or it can have the words centered over the columns. It is generally used when there is more than one column for a story and to produce a formal look. Question headline evokes curiosity and highlights speculative points or provokes the reader. It is good for pro and con stories. Professionals do not favor it because it leaves the reader guessing. Emotional headline. It targets either a positive or negative feeling to encourage an audience to read an article. To do this, writers use powerful words such as affordable or stressed. Wordplay headline uses a creative formation of words and phrases, typically in the form of a pun or irony. Companies often use these headlines when trying to make a less important topic amusing. Background headlines start with contextual information, usually a 2-part headline, with the first part providing background and the second half explaining the significance or reason for the first statement. Confrontational headlines are persuasive as they attract people who either agree with the headline or have opposing opinions. Posing a controversial stance can entice individuals to read and see whether the article changed or enforced their existing opinions. Banner headlines spread across 8 columns and are used rarely on important occasions to send a signal that something very important has happened. Kicker headline. Conventional headline used when a headline cannot be written in one line. This type of headlining is used to dress up a page by giving it variety and clarity. Hammer. It is exactly the opposite of kicker. Here, smaller type is the main headline, whereas the kicker is in the bigger type and usually in capital letters. Usually, hammers do not extend beyond 1 or 2 words. Boxed headline. As the name indicates, it is framed in a rectangular box. Jump head. Headlines given to a continued part of a story carried in some other page as a jump. Labels. Permanent headlines that appear in newspapers on a regular basis like listings, reviews, careers, city notes, etc. Blanket head. Headline covering all columns occupied by story or combination of related stories. Block heading. Headline enlarged photographically from proof. Cross heads or cross lines. Subheads placed in text between paragraphs. Drop head, in which each line is set further to the right. Eyebrow. Short line in smaller type, often underlined above main deck of headline, is also called the teaser, highline or strap. Over banner. Banner headline running higher than the nameplate or flag of the newspaper. It is also called the skyline and over roof in US. Overline. Display type over a picture. Screamer. Crude sensational headline with exclamation marks, question marks, etc. Shotgun head. two or more decks of headline on the same story. Side head, small subsidiary heading in the body of a story set left instead of centered. Streamer, headline running across top of all or most of the columns in inner pages. Teaser headline or caption, which rather than informing the reader attracts him to read. And let us see tips for writing headline. Best headline writers are spontaneous and creative, instantly come to you. Headline writers have to be the best writers at the newspaper. Many times, the best headlines you come up with cannot be printed. Continuity leads to better headlines. One must write them day after day to get good at it. Read others' headlines to get ideas, but doing so isn't necessarily going to make you a better headline writer. The most effective headlines are those that give an old glitch a new twist. Readers are familiar with a glitch, but something different about it will reel them in. The more conversational the headline, the more the readers will like it. Don't be so quick to abandon using articles such as a, an, and the. Sometimes these words are needed for clarity. Also, headline styles change over time. Don't repeat the lead in a headline. Write a better headline than the lead, and don't give away the punchline of a feature story that has a surprise ending. Be aware of any unintended double meanings. Avoid bad breaks at the end of lines, such as dangling prepositions or conjunctions. Don't get into the habit of relying on squeezing or stretching the headline type to fit the space. To trained eyes, it can look sloppy, especially when the doctored headline appears near other headlines. Headlines are more important. It stands out in bold black type. Its message is terse, abrupt, and often startling. It makes us stop and look. It tells us quickly what the story covers. Its primary function is to attract our attention. It corresponds to beat of the drum outside the street show. Headline writing belongs to the copy reader's province. Let's go for the recap. What is the significance of a headline? What process must be followed while writing a headline? What are the various kinds of headlines? Distinguish between comment and quotation headlines. What is a question headline? How is it different from descriptive headline? So, I just want you all to recall what we have dealt now. And the references are available. These are the books through which you can get more information pertaining to this topic, headlines. So you all can go through the books written by Parthasarathi, by J.K. Puri, by Sri Vaishnava and Narasimha. These books would fetch you all more ideas pertaining to this topic, headlines and its types. Thank you. For further queries, you can mail to my mail ID. Thank you.